The newest edition of the QS World University Ranking by Subject 2020 places the Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, UiTM Malaysia, in the 31st position among the educational institutions specialized in the area of hospitality and leisure management. The only public university in Malaysia listed among the top 50 of the world ranking. To the webinar participants, this is a 50-minute forum with no break between the sessions. Your active participation is important throughout the sessions. I would like everyone to mute your microphone and turn off your camera to avoid distraction from listening to the webinar. Throughout the presentations, our staff will be managing the chat functionality. You can enter your questions and comments in the chat box throughout the sessions. In addition, the registration QR code will be displayed at the end of the sessions for you to claim your e-certificate. Again, I would like to welcome you all to the FPHP Webinar Series panel discussion with the theme Tourism and COVID-19 Survival of the Fittest, Let the Less Fit Survive Too. In this occasion, we shall have outstanding discussion from our prominent panelists, whom I believe shall enrich our insight and knowledge regarding the theme of these panel discussions. Before the discussion begins, allow me to introduce the panelists. The first panelist is Yang Mulia Tunku Dato Seri Dr. Iskandar Tunku Abdullah Tunku Iskandar. He is the past chairman of Pacific Asia Travel Association (PATA), and I am proud to inform you that he is the only Malaysian to have held the post until this moment. He is also the past president of Malaysian Association of Tours and Travel Agencies (MATTA) for 11 years cumulatively, and currently he is the regional vice president of the APG network, overseeing the 20 offices in the Asia Pacific region, providing sales and distribution services to airlines. Our next panelist is Mr. Muhammad Akil Yusof, a Sheffield Hallam University graduate. He is currently the Deputy President of Malaysian Association of Tours and Travel Agencies, MATTA, since 2017. He has more than 25 years of experience running destination management and travel management companies. In addition, he was the first Asian and Malaysian elected as the advisory board members Asia region for Lufthansa City Center International, Frankfurt, Germany. Our next panelist is Mr. Muhammad Ali Abdul Malek. He is currently the president of Persatuan Syarikat Pengendalian Pengelancongan BUMITRA Malaysia, or known as BUMITRA. A little bit about Mr. Muhammad Ali. He started his trade with the Ogilvy and Mather advertisement agency and joined the travel agency businesses in 1994. With his foundation diploma from IATA UFTA in 2008, he then set up his own travel agency and had been with the travel and tourism businesses for more than 20 years. Our last panelist is Dato Dr. Ammar Abdul Ghapar. He is the Senior Director of Tourism Malaysia and is widely known as a subject matter expert in the Malaysian tourism industries. With more than 30 years experience in both domestic and international tourism, Dato Dr. Ammar has been actively involved in formulating strategies for domestic tourism and had participated in various seminars and activities contributing his ideas for the betterment of the tourism industries. The Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, UiTM Puncak Alam, is proud to have Dato Dr. Ammar here today as our alumni, and recently he had been awarded as the Adjunct Professor of Tourism Management by the Universiti Teknologi. And without further ado, to moderate the session, I would like to invite our lovely Madam Moderator, Associate Professor Dr. Norliza Aminudin, to start the first session of the FPHP webinar event. To you, Madam Moderator, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Assalamualaikum, good morning to our speakers and of course to our audience. It is my pleasure to be the moderator for this webinar, which is featuring 4 esteemed speakers from the tourism supply side. They have been introduced by our MC now. And the webinar is about this unprecedented event that is triggering crisis. The world does not require any introduction, as all of us are aware of it. Yeah, probably down the road it will probably be as known as the World War I or II, and it has affected us in two ways. One is our economy, which we discussed today, our economy, and also our mental health. Considering the first part, we have read and some may have witnessed and experienced it in Malaysia. Yeah? Can we not leave anyone behind embracing this pandemic? Thus, let the less fit survive too. Yeah, with that statement, may I invite Tunku Iskandar to state his opinion on this. Tunku, please.
Well, good morning, Professor Norliza and Professor Muhammad and my fellow panelists. Assalamualaikum and greetings to everyone who are here with us. I see that the webinar room is full house, so I hope people are actually live streaming on Facebook. What is meant actually by survival of the fittest? To me, the survival of the fittest is not actually a rule. It is an overall trend, a natural pattern in species that the fittest shall survive any given environment. So those who are least suited to survive in the environment will not survive. So when this survival of the fittest was something a theory expounded by Charles Darwin, I think he meant that better adapted to the immediate local environment and not just in any environment. Thus, the post-COVID-19 environment is not going to be the same as a pre-COVID-19 environment. It's not going to be the same old. So who's going to be called the fittest and who are the less fit? Actually, the way I look at things, Professor Liza, is that it will continue to be survival of the fittest, but the less fit will have to join the group of the fittest by adapting themselves, by being more agile, by being more adaptable. We have to prosper and grow beyond and not just survive. So I believe that this is something very important for us to bear in mind and not just think that we need to survive only. And even if we find a vaccine for this COVID-19, and the virus apparently is mutating all the time. We are now in the 6th mutation or more maybe. And we have to take for granted that we are going to have to take health precautions all the time while we are traveling, while we are tourists in other countries or in our own country. We have to wear face masks. Now all this is going to be a bit restrictive for some of us. We have been so, so carefree in the way we have been doing things. But now we have to sanitize our hands, sing happy birthday twice, and so on. But in the end, we will have to prefer not to rub shoulders with crowds, much less hug or kiss on the cheeks as the Italians and the Arabs do. 20 years ago, actually, it was about that our then Minister of Tourism, Tan Sri Kadir bin Sheikh Fazeh, he proposed that there should be a new way of greeting. And he said we should all adopt the right hand over the heart gesture, and he was criticized by many as this being un-Malaysian. And but he must be smiling now and feeling very gratified that this gesture is now becoming the Malaysian way, like it or not. And even some other cultures are also starting to adopt this way. So maybe that's what I shall start off with, and hand back to you.
Right, yeah. It is interesting to see that what Tan Sri Kadir Sheikh Fazeh has been telling us about the gesture Yeah, it was like what 20 years ago. Yeah, and if it is being practiced now, at least it would confine the virus. Yeah, that is from the international knowledge of and vast knowledge from Tunku Iskandar. Tunku, from your view of point, how are the countries in the ASEAN are doing, especially their SMEs? In Malaysia, we have heard of hotels closing down, travel agencies are in dire need of help. Yeah, although our domestic market is opening, but what about other countries?
Well, actually, as the regional vice president of the APG network, I have been in touch with about 20 of our countries, of the officers in the Asia Pacific area, and to get a feel for what is happening in those markets, talking about travel agencies and airlines specifically. And what is happening is that almost none of the countries have opened their borders. So that's the first thing. That's where the situation is. Not opening the borders means that travel agencies and also airlines are unable to do anything that will help it to survive. So we are, of course, hoping that all this will be made better when the travel bubbles or green lanes, as has been talked a lot about, will happen. But this is something that while we are looking forward to it, we have to understand that there has to be mutual trust and cooperation and mutual recognition of talking about countries now, each other's protocols, hygiene protocols, health protocols, SOPs are applicable or are acceptable. Because imagine if you are a Malaysian wanting to take a few days, 4-day trip to Bangkok, say, and imagine we have to go through 4 hours of checking in procedures, testing, and so on, and get on a 2-hour flight. And at the other end, if we have to go through the same kind of protocols again, this is going to be just not viable. And also the same thing on the way back. And hopefully we don't have to go into quarantine at either end. So this is very, very, very crucial for the entire travel industry to grow. And this is not just in Malaysia and surrounding countries, but it is also practically in all the Asia Pacific countries. We have seen some announcements of less restriction or opening up of borders on a restricted basis. And usually they are very restricted. They will say, okay, only for diplomats, only for government servants that need to go, emergencies, and so on. And so the real travelers are not able to travel under those circumstances. And we have to wait for the opening of the borders before travel can happen. Hotels maybe are in a better position in some ways, but certainly not travel agents and airlines. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have heard about the opening up of hotels, yeah? Some parts of airlines or aviation, which is very important because according to ICAO, the multiplier effect of employability of aviation in Malaysia is 12.5. That is for aviation. Now, back to travel agencies, which is very much affecting our local employability. I would like to invite Encik Akil, he is the VP of MATTA, to tell us about what is happening in the travel agencies industry, especially, as mentioned just now, the less fit. So, Encik Akil, is he online? He was online just now.
Yes. Assalamualaikum everybody. Thank you Dr. Norliza, Dr. Hafiz, Dr. yang saya kasihi Dr. Ammar, Yang Mulia Tunku Iskandar, Encik Ali is happen to have a problem to join, maybe somebody can help him. I was late because he was calling me how to join. Anyway, Dr. Norliza, I was talking on the phone, so can you just brief me the question again? Sorry, very sorry about this.
It's okay. Now we were talking about how this pandemic is affecting the travel agencies sector, especially the less fit, as we say. But as Tunku said, we have to survive anyway. So, what innovative steps are they taking, or what is their situation now?
Okay, MATTA, we have taken a lot of steps, and most of the steps that we have taken is the first of its kind for the industry. We have been very vocal and vigilant in terms of trying to make the government understand, and also to make our members understand. I would like to illustrate here more, emphasize here more. Basically, actually, travel agents and probably other sector of tourism, we are at war. We are at war with COVID-19. So we have to really look at what we need to do when we are facing an invisible enemy, when we are facing unprecedented government regulation, health requirement, either it's in Malaysia or other countries. We are facing so many things that we are not used to, as what Tunku said before, pre-COVID-19. So now, when you talk about post-COVID-19 and you talk about survival, I guess the best way is to look at it as we are at war. When we are at war, our minds will change. Our working relation and our working style will also change. And our adaptable of the situation, which is current or future, will also change. So that way, we feel that, MATTA feel that basically we will be the winners by the end of the day. So survival of the fittest, we have to find a way for the small or medium-sized travel agency. We have to find a way how to make sure that we can survive and do not. The last thing in mind, do not give up. Do not give up, because everything that you face now is all come from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and whatever comes from Him, there is a remedy, and you have to find the remedy. That's what I believe, and I believe a lot of people also believe in that. Probably we have to do a lot of merging, rather than we have so many small one. The small one merge together, become a medium-sized one, and a medium-sized one, there's so many of them, merge and become a bigger size, so that you can have a better bargaining power, a better cream of the cream in terms of employment, in terms of ideas to move forward in order to make sure that this post-COVID-19 period, we come out as a winner. That's over to you back, Dr. Norliza.
Yeah, so we are at war with COVID-19. So the issue of mental health is not only with us who we are facing the fourth stage of MCO, the mental health of the suppliers of tourism industries as well. Yeah, they are facing this unseen enemy, yeah, as mentioned by Akil. But nonetheless, with the opening up of our domestic market, we hope there will be some opening. Yeah, although we know that their market is usually from international, but let's see what Dato Ammar Dr. Ammar from Tourism Malaysia has to say, how it can help, especially the SMEs. Over to you, Dr. Ammar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dr. Norliza, Dr. Hafiz, and of course my sifu yang mulia Tunku, Dato Seri, Tunku Iskandar. How are you, sir? And of course, my colleagues, Akil, Ali. Thank you very much, first of all, UITM for inviting me today to be with you, with all others, to see what we are doing, how we could survive in this pandemic and other things. Yeah, of course. Now, when we're talking about domestic tourism, people are looking at the how effective we are, what is our plan in the future for us to face this COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, I have a few slides here I would like to share with you. May we go to the first slide, please? Yeah. Connected. Okay. Okay. This is the announcement made by our Prime Minister in a way that said that when I'm talking about domestic tourism, it might take 4 years for us to come back to what we are. And of course, this is something shocking to us when we're talking about post-COVID or post-MCO. Definitely, as what you know, and as what we mentioned earlier, that the survey made by the Atmosphere Survey Group was saying that for us to come back to at least 80% to 100% to what we were before the COVID, that would take us until 2023. So it is mentioned in the survey as well that the recovery for COVID will definitely very slow, especially when we're talking about tourism industry and other things. So just imagine 4 years for us for the recovery. How do we go about for this? Yeah. Of course, we are scared, we are worried. We have to take much of time to recover. But again, let's take this something that we should be motivated with. We should tell the world, we should tell others that we can recover the soonest. 4 years is too long, definitely. That's why we need to do something about it, so that the recovery period won't take that long for us, especially when we're talking about the tourism industry. Yeah. So it is a challenge to us. Okay, don't be demotivated about it. Take it as a challenge, and definitely there's a lot we can do, and we should be more creative to find ways, and we should be more resilient when it comes to this situation. Okay, next slide. Okay, okay, on the next slide, you can see that this is about the interstate on domestic tourism sectors when government announced it earlier, and you can see that from the response that we have got, a lot of people are traveling. Plus indication is that the numbers of car increase when interstate is allowed. Then this is a good indication of people start traveling again when the interstate is permitted. Yeah. So you can see that the response is because a lot of people has been staying at home. They don't have the chance to go back to visit their parents in kampung and other things. So people start traveling. And of course, for those who are not traveling back to their hometown, a lot of resorts have given a good indication saying that they are fully booked. Okay, the number of people visiting the resorts are increasing. I think we are doing something about it, and it is a good indication that people start traveling again. Yeah, so that has given us a very big impact to the industry, and the responses are good. Of course, if you were to compare the city hotel and the resort, then resort are having more response to that compared to the city hotels. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are the measures that we have taken, but not only us, but others country are also taking the same measures, of which on the recovery initiative, these are the things that have been taken. Number one, we should focus on domestic tourism. Thailand is doing that as well. Others countries are doing that as well. And also, we have to see on the reviving segments that can help us to grow again, of which health tourism is one of the segments that we have to look into when it comes to our plan for recovery for MCOs, post-MCOs. And hotel are also doing the subsidizing the rooms. This is also a good effort, a good measure taken by the hotel that makes people want to travel with a good offer by the hoteliers and other things. And also subsidizing airfare through local airlines. We are doing the same thing as others are doing also. We have been working with a few airlines, particularly Malaysia Airlines, Malindo Air, AirAsia, on the airfares and other things. And there are some promotion, and as per now, it is a positive indication that people are start booking the airlines and other things. So these are the same measure that we have taken compared to other countries as well. Next. On the domestic recovery strategies, we have all this. We are talking about surviving, and we are talking about resilient and other things. Okay, there are platforms that we have used, that we're going to use to help the industry. And of course, we are going to have the inter and intrastate PR activation. I wish I can explain more about this, but I don't think that times will permit me to do so. But anyway, we can share this slide later on with you all on that. Okay, I would like to emphasize more on the survey on domestic travel that we have done. I mean, Tourism Malaysia has done. Yeah. So now we can see that we are talking about travel arrangement. This is a survey done to at least the numbers of respondents for this survey is 13,700 respondents, and we can see that these are what people are expecting after MCO, after COVID-19. When you're talking about travel arrangement, a lot of people will prefer to have their own independent arrangement rather than to go through tour agent for tour packages and other things. Again, this is a phenomena of which does it means that the travel agent will be no relevant in years to come or after COVID-19. This is something that is scary, definitely. But as I said, that we can use this indication as our guideline, and to take whatever measure that need to be taken so that this won't happen as predicted through the survey that we have done. So for the travel agent, we have to remain them to be resilient. We have to remain them to be relevant in industry. Therefore, working with travel agent is very important, and it goes to the hotelier as well as the product owner to work together with the travel agent because they are our partners. So they have to be there. They have to remain as relevant to the market as well. So their function as a travel agent is very important. Therefore, it is up to the travel agent to see what are the value-added things they can do, how creative they are in designing and planning their packages in the future. So if not, this is what will happen, that out of the respondent, 88.4% were saying that they do not need a tour operator or agent in years to come or after COVID-19. So we have to make sure that the function, the role of travel agent is still relevant in years to come. Next. And our survey also give the indication that the tourist guide services, if you can look at the slide there, it is mentioned clearly that stated there, 88.3% do not need a tour guide after COVID-19 or after the MCO. Only 11.7% would need their services. So what does it mean? This is only and another thing, whether the tourist guide will be surviving after this or otherwise. So when we are looking at it, definitely something must be uh, taken into place so that they will remain also relevant as the travel agent are. So what the guide should be doing? I think after the COVID-19 or after this, there's no more kind of thing guide talking to 40 passengers in the coach and other things. Guide has to be more creative. Guide have to be more knowledgeable. Therefore, I would like to suggest to the guide to take whatever measure that should be taken. Like they should be more specialized in the area, but not only one area, but a few area. They should be specialized in a few areas so that their service are still needed by the tourists. They should be more knowledgeable. They should be more creative, uh, so that their services are seems to be very relevant in the future. So it is something that are quite scary for us because we don't need tourist guide. Are we saying that we don't need tourist guide anymore? Are we saying that there's the tour operator is not important anymore after COVID? Definitely that is wrong. Yeah, but again, it is the role, it is their own task. I mean, the tourist guide as well as the travel agent to make them to stay relevant so that they can survive in years to come. So there's a lot need to be done by the guide and also the travel agent to remain relevant in the market in years to come. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, looking again on the domestic travel frequency, of which you can see that the portion are still 45% that people are traveling seasonal. This is another area that we should look upon when we're talking about survival in the future, of which it has been the same problem that when it comes to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hotels are full. But again, when you look on the occupancy rate of the hotels, when it is, or the products, when it is Monday to Thursday, they are not full. So how do we go about for this? How do we make people to travel not seasonal, but how to make them to travel, especially when it comes to weekdays? So I think we should put more effort to this. A lot of promotion can be done so that we can encourage more people to travel in the weekdays rather than the weekend. So definitely we would like to see what we can do, and maybe we should sit down with the product owners and also the travel agent and hotelier to see how do we encourage people or the Malaysian to travel domestically, especially when we are talking about Monday to Thursday, when the hotel occupancy rate is very low. So we should be doing something about this as well. And next slide. Again, on the domestic travel, we are looking at the trend, what will happen, how, when people are ready to travel. And from this, you can see that 30.7% will be ready to travel. This is the bigger portion of it after 6 months and 1 year. But these are the area, I mean, the group of people that we're looking at. And we are talking now about readiness and other things, whether the places of interest, the hotels, comply to the SOP that been gazetted by the government and other things. And you can see that with the trend, people are going to travel, they will be prefer to travel with family, 63.9%. Okay, the trend has changed, of which if you were to look at group, only 9.9% would like to travel in a group. So for the agent, again, these are the area that you have to look upon and to see what are the interests of people when they travel with family, what they want when they travel with families and other things. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, again, safety is one of the issue that everybody agreed that they will look and they will travel within Malaysia when they feel it is safe in Malaysia. So this is something that we should not tolerate. And again, domestically, domestic travel is in their mind. People are traveling domestically now. That is why we should emphasize more on domestic, and definitely Tourism Malaysia are creating some campaign on Cuti Malaysia with regards to domestic tourism. Okay, next. Survey also gives some indication that these are the places that people would like to avoid of going after COVID-19: crowded area, shopping activities, theme park, sport activities, and F&B activities. We should take this again as a challenge, not something that we are worried so much about it. And I think a lot of theme park also has taken a good measure. Yesterday I was at Sunway Lagoon theme park, and I can see that they have taken all the necessary measure when it comes to the SOP and other things. People are start coming to the theme park, and I think this is a good effort. And in fact, they have the campaign that kesana kesini ke Sunway. So they package everything with the rooms and the theme park. I think this is a good effort. This is a challenge that to what the survey has indicated. But again, creativity and a good effort will definitely change whatever things that we have gained from the survey done by us. Okay, next. This is about the transportation, the hotels, the homestay, and the public transport, that basically now people would want to use their own transportation when they are traveling. So this is also a challenge to the car rental company. What you should be doing, how creative and attractive your packages will be. Yeah, so to make people still rent a car is still a relevant business to be there in the future. So look into this. And next is the indication by others on the places of interest, that what are people looking at when they are traveling. 76.8% are looking at island and beaches. So this is a good indication also. We should be ready with this. And of course, 10 reasons why they want to travel domestically in Malaysia. Okay, next. I think I can just jump a few slides on this. You can go next. Let's go to the issue and challenges on this, because of the time and things. And look at the issue and challenges. Slow recovery on tourism industry. So everybody know that we are the most affected area, and the recovery will be very slow. So it is a challenge to us to make it to be recovered soon. So there's a lot can be done. We have to be focused on this and see what are the measures to be taken in order to make the recovery of the tourism industry faster than what it is supposed to be. And the public interest as well, as you know, when you're talking about luxury tour, priority will be given to other things rather than to travel. And this is another thing that another area we should look upon. How do we go about to make people to travel again? Yeah, priority will always be to the health, to the education and the things. And tourism will be the last priority when it comes to that. And the SOP, of course, does it help to boost the tourism with the limitation and other things that we should emphasize. But again, this is for the good and for the benefit of the industry. I think we need to follow whatever being adhered for us to follow when it comes to the SOP. Okay, how accurate the industry to follow the SOP stated by national security. Of course, everybody has to play their role to make sure that they follow whatever SOP being stated. So again, we are looking at the border. We hope that that will be lifted soon, so that we can focus then to the regional tourists and other things. This is an area that we are waiting for. If not, then we won't get any international tourists for this. Yeah, but again, we will fall back on our readiness, how ready we are to receive again the tourists from overseas and other things. Okay, does the national carrier visible now? Does high fare rates help? Again, I think since now the capacity of the aircraft can be full, I think at least this resolved. If not, then the airfare will be very expensive. And definitely, if the airfare is expensive, people will be traveling, especially when talking about Peninsula, maybe Sabah and Sarawak, for domestic tourism. And strict health of safety protocol, where more tapao than dining is another issue. So whether we want, we have to follow whatever recommended by KKM for that. Because when we are talking about the tourism industry, that goes to the restaurant as well. So does this phenomena will help the restaurant to survive and other things? So when people more on the panda food and other things, they would like to tap out things at home, but not to dine at the restaurant and other things. So we need to see all this, and the hotel and restaurants also have their role to play to remain their survival in the industry. Okay, Dr. Norliza, I think go back to you on this. As I mentioned, I've taken much of the time now. Yeah, back to you, Dr. Norliza.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ammar. It is a very interesting survey indeed. Yeah, even as we are having this webinar, we are taking over the role of hotels, of the F&B industry, because usually we will have seminar rather than webinar, but due to these circumstances, yeah, we are forced to do as such. I'm going back to Tunku. What do you think about the scary statement by Dato' Ammar just now, yeah, about our public? They are not in favor of using travel agencies and tour guides. So it is like we are slowly killing them. Now we want them to survive. What can we do to, from your view, what can we do to let them survive?
Well, Prof, thank you. And I'm sure my friend Akil has a lot more to say than me about that. But from my point of view, the scare, or rather the use of online channels rather than travel agents, I think has been with us actually for a long time. I would say that I always quote this, and I always say this: Air Asia actually helped to bring Malaysians to become more internet savvy than anything else, because when every time it threw the 1 million seats free, or 1 million seats at RM1, everybody went on the internet to buy seats, to try to buy seats. And of course, in that way, they became more familiar with the internet, and then when book hotels and so on and so forth. So, but the thing is, they do not realize also at the same time that when you go on the internet and book directly from the online, you are actually not talking to a person. There's no person at the other end who will be there to help you in case you do need some help. And I personally have been also trying to gone online overseas, book something overseas, and then find myself stuck because I needed to change something and I could not get it changed. And I ended up having to pay for it, or heavy penalty. But the other thing that I want to say is that with consumers and travelers becoming more conscious on the environment, we need to develop tours and packages that are suitable for smaller number of people, smaller number of locals and foreign tourists. Therefore, there is a need to focus on higher value tourism that will incorporate longer stays, also higher spending activities. This will also result in more eco-friendly and lower carbon footprint tourism that is very much in keeping with what the world and our country is more conscious of and needing to do. Alongside that, we also need to kita jaga kita by promoting domestic tourism. So it's all in there. The days of volume tourism, counting achievements of countries by the number of foreign tourists arriving to our shores, I think we should try to reduce that. We should now be UNWTO have to make changes in the way it presents statistics, because currently it counts and glorifies the top countries by listing those who receive the most number of foreign tourists, and not by other measurements such as, not so much by other measurements such as tourist spending. So, for example, Malaysia will have to strive to be in the top 10 or top 20 or whatever in foreign tourist arrivals, and cannot focus so much on how to develop the higher value tourists, because people are going to judge them by, oh, how come Malaysia has slipped from number 10 to number 12, or so on and so forth, other countries. So because of that, countries are all focusing on this number of tourists. How much numbers can we pack into our annual statistics and publish to the world and say, hey, we are the best, so we are one of the best. And I think this is the way for our country to become fitter, and maybe hopefully the fittest, because as I said at the beginning, there is no room for to be less fit. So we have to be there among the fittest. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tunku. Encik Akil, what about the government incentive? Under Penjana, we are given 1,000 ringgit tax exemption. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Norliza. I welcome, in fact, MATTA and some other association within the tourism industry. We welcome this move. In fact, we suggested to increase it to 2,000 ringgit. Because if 1,000 ringgit for Sabah and Sarawak, that's gone. Your air ticket's already taken, almost all of it. So what can you spend on the most important, which is the ground arrangement, where the multiplier effect is much bigger. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier when I started, when you asked me the question, where are we, all this thing, blah blah blah. So I said that we are at war. So when I said what I meant by we are at war is that not that we are have to have our own protection or weapon, all these things, but then yeah, protection, we have to have face mask, right? Then we have to go through this temperature checking, and we have to always sanitize, right? So these are things that we need to know to all the tourism players. Okay, 2,000 ringgit. Why also we ask for 2,000 ringgit is because to encourage them not to do only one trip a year, but probably 2 or 3 trips a year by a family. Dato Dr. Ammar has said very, very correctly that basically now there's no more group traveling for domestic. It's more on individual, family-based or relative-based travel to one destination to another destination. Yes, I saw there's a comment by Encik Ahmad Shariman, Ahmad Rizwan, saying that basically travel agent needs new approach in giving info rather than basic details. Yes, I agree. I agree totally. But how to get this info? Because every state has every different products, different things that we need to learn from it. For one travel agent, small or medium or big, for them to learn all these things is not easy. So there must be a body, and I feel that this is what Tourism Malaysia needs to do. I think Tourism Malaysia, what probably they need to do is basically to help to create more relevant information so that we can sell this tourism, domestic tourism, well during this lockdown period where we cannot go overseas, and we can also segmentize it to make it easy to the high end, medium end, and low end. I'm afraid that the high end may not look at domestic tourism as lucrative as the low end income group. So we need to balance this up properly so that we can have a better high end numbers out where they are the one who can spend a lot of money, and they are the one who will benefit with the 1,000, mostly with the 1,000 domestic tourism income tax relief. Yeah. So MATTA wants to have 2,000 ringgit. MATTA wants to have more information collected in a uniform manner. So, and travel agent from our side, we have to be more creative, more innovative. We are at war. We have to be different than what we have before. This is what we need to do, and we are telling our members, and our members are complaining, oh, we cannot do this, we cannot do that. But you have to do something. You have to find a way, because we can do so much for you, but it's actually at the end of the day, it's you yourself. You have to find the information. You have to find the right way to move on, and you have to find probably what travel agents need to do is to focus. Okay, if you are easy to get information from, let's say you are from north of Malaysia, then focus and try to sell north of Malaysia domestic packages. And then somebody who are from south, sell south. Somebody from Sabah, and so on and so forth. Probably that kind of thing, you can work better for domestic tourism, and we'll get the right product, the best product across to the consumer, because that way also it will encourage travel agent services requirement by the domestic tourism, rather than they go directly to the online and offline, directly to the source. The other thing that MATTA feels that basically government has to step in and to stop these international OTAs, because these international OTAs, they are not helping the industry. They are killing travel agents. Why? I said because firstly they have the platform that they can go to anybody in Malaysia. Okay, so therefore that's bypassing the travel agent, but they are not giving the right information, because as what Tunku Iskandar has told, you have to read, you have to look at it, and if they forgot to put it in, then you will have a problem. And if you want to have a change, you have a problem. And the most important thing is that this OTA doesn't pay tax, but we, the travel agent, we pay tax in Malaysia. If we make money, 25% of our money is belong to the government. So I think it's about time for us to look into this matter and try to say, and what happened during the COVID-19 period? Where is the OTAs? They never do anything. They never help the Malaysian government. They never help the Malaysian people. Employment, they never give employment. We give almost every agent on average is about 15 staff every agent. We have 3,000. We have 4,000 travel agents. You times by 15. That's the number of employment that real take into account. And not to mention about tourist guide, not to mention about other sectors of tourism that we are giving. So I think because we are at war, we have to think differently. Not that we are going to protect our, we are stingy, or we are not going toward that direction, but we have to protect ourselves. If we go bankrupt, okay, if we go bankrupt or we go down, who is going to help us? Rather than our fellow Malaysians. Therefore, I urge the relevant authorities to look into this matter, try to encourage and discourage the using of OTA and encourage the using of travel agent. Because if we were to do a lot of other beautiful things also, not necessarily all of us will go through, but only some of us will go through. Therefore, to some extent, when Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin says that a lot of the old one will die and a lot of new one will come up, but he should expand the statement. The old one who dies, they will carry a lot of debts, and they may become bankrupt if the banks go after them. And the new ones, they will go into a zone that maybe they know, maybe they don't know, and they might become also a victim later on if they are not lucky enough. So in this case, that's why I said we have to understand and we have to think. We are at war. When we are at war with COVID-19, we have to do this remedy, which is unprecedented, which is not knowing and not hearing about it before. we have to do it, or in order to survive the industry, the travel agent. Because without the travel agent, later on when the outbound open, no travel agent who is going to sell Malaysia, who is going to help to package the product for Malaysia. Hotel will do only hotel, transport company will do only transport, and tourist guide will do only what is being asked bank to do. And we have to look at it. I'm sorry, my message is very strong, very straightforward, but I hope everybody can be very open and listen and understand where I come from. Because or else, Dr. Norliza, do you have the diagram that I given to you yesterday? Can we show them on the screen?
All right, hold on. I will get my assistant here to get the diagram. Yeah. Meanwhile, I think what you are saying is from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
Yes.
What I mean, like people like us, we are looking at the theory part, but the practical part is from you. Now, what do you think about both, Encik Akil, Dr. Ammar, about this Tourism Act 1992? Should it be revised? It has been like 30 years, I think, yeah, over 30 years. Should it be reviewed and revised?
Well, Dr. Ammar, you want to say first, or you want me to say first?
Yeah, you go ahead first.
Okay. I think MATTA, on our own, we have already submitted a lot of papers, and as you know, please, what happened between the last 2 years after the general election GE14, right? So a lot of changes has happened. We have new minister, 2 new minister. We have also 2 new deputy minister. We have also 2 new KSU. We have also 2 new TKSU. Everything is new, and what my point is that basically not that they are not capable in their job. They are capable in their job, but they need to time to understand these issues, what is happening. And COVID-19 is something which is very, very different. It's totally different. Therefore, what they have to have is that they have to make sure that they understand, and it is need to do changes very quickly. We are not very confident that it can happen, because we have already submitted with all the ministers before the changes and all the changes of what things that we told the government to change. All right. But unfortunately, it doesn't move. And what we were told that some of the changes were supposed to be debated in 2020, but what happened in 2020? We changed government. We don't have parliamentary session earlier, but now we are starting to have parliamentation. But I don't know whether the Tourism Act is one of the important things to be discussed during this session or not. And if not, then it will be in 2021. But are we going to wait for 2021 to change all these things? Because we are at war. We have to do outside the box. A lot of people will say, even Suzu will say that now you are in a war. You have to change your strategy. You have to make sure you can be adaptable and adaptable in the strategy, so that you become, by the end of the most important thing, by the end of the day, you become a winner.
Encik Akil, the diagram that you wanted us to show the audience is on the screen now.
I don't know whether I can see the diagram. Okay, for the benefit of the speaker and all the audience, this is the diagram that we see. Basically, is the post-COVID period, the short-term effect. Look at travel industry. Where are we? We are the last in line. We are the last in line. So how we were supposed to be the potential winner. Now we are the last potential loser. And what about hotel, transport, all these things? They are also in the same quadrant as us now, post-COVID. So does that mean that it definitely means that we need to do something? But what I'm saying is that basically we are at war. We are at war. We must change our mind. We must innovate. We must put a lot of effort in order to be successful back to the potential winner quadrant. Or the other thing is that what is happening now, travel agent is selling food, selling a lot of things, mask, glove, all these things, because that is where they can make money. So they are running away from their job. And once they are very successful in that, do you think they will come back to travel agent? These are the very, very alarming questions that in MATTA we are discussing. We are trying to ensure that there will still be relevant players who are bold enough to stay and waive the COVID period and try to be the winner for the country, because tourism, as everybody knows, it is the easiest way to get the foreign exchange earning if the border is open, and at the same time it encourages a lot of employment where the income change hand more than 7 levels in the economy.
All right, thank you very much, Akil. So we are hearing the reality of the business. Just now, Dr. Ammar, have you got anything to say about this Review Tourism Act just now?
Okay, first of all, the Tourism Act, I think maybe it is high time for us to look again into it. As you know that when we have that act earlier, we are not talking about online, we are not talking about webinar, we are not talking about all those that we are having today. So I think it is a good suggestion. Then maybe the association can again discuss with the ministry how we should go about on this, because online also has created a lot of illegal auto operator in the business. So I think we should tackle this. That is why it is important, I think, and high time for us to look into the act as well. And if you are talking about the product updates, and I think if you were to look back at my slides earlier on the quick win that we have prepared, it's mentioned that we are going to have our e-consumer fair, we are going to have our e-trade fair, we are going to have our e-corporate bazaar, we are going to have our e-trade and tourism bazaar. So this is all the platform that we are going to create. We are not going to do or to use other platform, definitely, when we are talking about the OTA. So we are not going, we are suggesting that we should not be relying much on Agoda or Traveloka or other international platform. So it is high time for us also to have our platform, our own platform, local platform, so that we can gain more from that platform. And again, on the quick win, you can see that the activation of PR activities of us using key opinion leader as well as influencer, I think that is another area where we are going to promote a lot of new product through the influencer and also the key opinion leader. So actually what has been mentioned by Cik Akil, it is all in the pipeline already. It's time for us to execute it. And I hope that this will help a lot to the industry so that we can move forward and we can overcome and settle a lot of things when we are doing it later by having our own platform for our promotion and other things. So this platform will definitely, we are suggesting to the top management, this will be a free platform of which you can highlight whatever products you have to this platform. And I hope that this will boost the tourism industry, especially when we're talking about domestic tourism. Okay. On the rebate and other things, we are totally agree with that. Let makes the people feel that why should I pay the income tax when there's a rebate on that when I can go for traveling. And we are going to, we are in the plan of having our Cuti Malaysia campaign, of which we want the Malaysian to help the domestic tourism. We hope that Malaysian will start traveling. Even if you were to travel from Putrajaya going to Sepang or Putrajaya to Genting, and that is good enough for us. But we want that to be an obligation for the Malaysian to the tourism industry. We want them to travel. I hope that once we launch this campaign the soonest, then all the Malaysian will travel accordingly to boost the domestic tourism. Because only Malaysia can help. Malaysian can help Malaysia to survive, especially the tourism industry, particularly when we're talking about domestic tourism. So I hope that everybody will participate, will take this an obligation for them to travel. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Dato Ammar, sorry
Yeah.
if the panel allow and moderator allow me. I just came from Langkawi. You know how much is the airfare one way? 500 ringgit. So I think also the government has to talk to the airline. I know they are suffering, but then they cannot be very without social distancing. Without social distancing, it's 500 ringgit one way from Subang to Langkawi. So for domestic tourism, that will definitely will not allow. Definitely will not encourage domestic tourism, and whatever your side is doing, we will defeat the purpose.
Yeah. We are looking at all the hiccups. I mean, not only talking about Langkawi, not only the airfare, the ferry fare is also being increased. The frequency of the ferry also very low. So these are the things that we need to look into. Definitely. If not, then if we are promoting it very much there, but the supporting elements are not there to support what we are doing, then it will defeat the purpose. I totally agree with you. And that is why I said that when it comes to Cuti Malaysia campaign, it is everybody responsibility, and it should be an integrated effort between all. The airlines, the ferry operator, the Tourism Malaysia, the travel agent, the state government, everybody have to be there and to work as a team in order to ensure that the domestic tourism will boost in the near future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We are being informed that Encik Ali is not able to join us due to some technical difficulties. Right. Continue to what we were saying just now. Tunku, would you like to add anything before we move on to the question and answer session?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Lisa. I think following on from Akil's comment just now about the airfares, the trouble is the airline economics is much more complicated. Sure, yes, one flight, 500 ringgit per passenger. Okay, the plane may be flying 80%, 70% full, but it needs to fly several times a day on those routes and other routes. It needs a connectivity to bring in foreign tourists to continue to domestic points, or domestic points to international points, to supplement, to complement, or to add on to the entire airfare or air travelers. So we don't have that part of it. It's going to become difficult. And so what is the end point? Is the borders has to open. The higher value tourists, foreign tourists, have to come in, and for that the green lanes, travel bubbles have to be implemented. We have to find a way to work together. Singapore, we have to get with Singapore. Singapore is our closest neighbor. Thailand is the next one. We have to get those that traffic moving. And if we don't do that, we can't. For example, hotels and resorts are what they say between a rock and a hard place. They are built of brick and concrete. They're stuck in the ground. They can't move. They can't change the location. Airplanes can move from different locations, but the hotels can't. And to survive for a 4-star hotel in KL, charging less than 100 ringgit a night presently, and resort in Redang, for example, charging 350 ringgit for 2 nights per person, including all meals, including accommodation, transfer to the jetty, 3 times snorkeling. So that kind of thing is not going to help us survive, because we are charging too little for the travel. It's necessary at this point. but that's not the end point. The end point is we got to get up to the higher value, higher revenue type of traffic and business. I think that's what I have to say for this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tunku. So now we shall move to the question and answer session. Question posted by our audience through the chat box. Yeah? There are quite a number, but we will choose a few. Yeah? There is one talking about why, since our domestic tourists are not using our tour guides, can we enhance their knowledge and specialties? Can the ministry do that so that they would have diverse training courses to upgrade their skill so that it become interesting for the domestic tourists? I think for this, Dato Dr. Ammar, I think either MOTEC or Tourism Malaysia is in charge of the syllabus for the tour guide, right?
Yeah. On the licensing part, the syllabus and everything, that is under the MOTEC. But again, I would like to comment on this. That is why when we are talking about how relevant they are, this again will fall back to themselves to make how marketable and relevant they are in the market. That's why I said just now, I like to emphasize now, the tourist guide is no more for them just to be in a coach with 40 passengers and talk about this is Bangunan Sultan Abdul Samad, blah, 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 and other things. It's not only the products. They should be more specialized in their area, of which they have to be more knowledgeable. It is their own task and their responsibility to make them more knowledgeable. Therefore, maybe once a tourist guide, he can be a specialized when you are talking about herbs, for example. He's also specialized when we are talking about birds or flora and fauna. So they have to go into that area of which the specialization of it. Therefore, if people are looking at a guide to talk about plants, to talk about flowers, to talk about birds, they are there. So, in other words, the tourist guide nowadays have to be very skillful. Number one. Number two, they should not depending very much on people using their services, but they have to market themselves. They have to do something how they should be relevant in the market, how people would need them to talk more about things that people doesn't know. So they have to be knowledgeable, and also they have to be skillful, and also tourist guide have to be prepared that they know a lot of more than one or two languages, so that that will make them more relevant to the market, even when we're talking about domestic tourism, because people might know only the surface of the product, but they have to go into depth on their knowledge. Therefore, tourist guide must be prepared with all these new challenges in their own profession. That's why I would like to urge and suggest to the tourist guide to see that they are into it, they are introduced into it, and they are able to tell story about the products and the things. So that make people say, oh, rather than we go for just a sightseeing, if we were to have a guide, we can have more knowledge about the places, and they are more specialized on a lot of things. This is what we want in the future. So definitely, we don't want the profession of a tourist guide to be dying when years to come, but we want to make them more important, more relevant in years to come. And again, I would like to emphasize that not only talking to 40 passengers in one coach, there might be a guide to a smaller group, but professional guide, more professional, more skillful guide into that. And of course, now we are talking about experiential tourism and everything. People like to experience a lot of things. So this is where a guide can play their role, so that they will remain relevant even if they are dealing with domestic tourists. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dato Dr. Ammar. We hope it can be, probably we will summarize this later and send the points, if possible, to Tourism Malaysia and MOTEC to see what can be done about these courses and about their capacity as tour guide, how to be more innovative. So there's another question from Dr. Rohas Linda, talking about, she asked, what do panels think about rural tourism? Yeah, tourism that are handled by community and without any help by travel agencies or any other sectors. How can government help this sector? Yeah, although it says how can government help this sector, I think Tunku, probably with your vast experience, how can we assist community tourism, rural community tourism?
Well, thank you. In the first place, I of course would say you need the help of travel agencies to promote and to organize this sector, rural tourism. We have our homestays, and I believe that even Felda has come more active into this area of rural tourism or homestays, and I think that is going to help a lot without help from the government. So we do need the help from the government. And yes, and the government, of course, can do a lot of help to organize this. But the private sector has definitely a role to play because it is in touch with the international market. It is in touch with what's going on, the pulse of the traveling public. So it is definitely something that the travel agencies and tour operators can do positively to help to grow rural tourism within the domestic tourism sector. Thank you.
All right, Akil, what have you got to say on this rural tourism? Hoping to get the assistance from travel agencies.
Well, we welcome with any new information for us to promote, and if we talking about international arrivals, international tourists, Malaysia flora and fauna is one of the most things that they sought for, and all of these are in the rural areas. Mostly are in the rural areas, and the rural economies. If you look at it, I would say what we need to do is that we need the respective state government tourism board. Every country has a state government tourism board. We have to find the right formula that which state tourism board is doing very well for this rural tourism. At the same time, also we have to look at internationally which country that has done very well on the rural tourism, and from there try to improve, use this period, try to improve ourselves in this sector. Yes, travel agent, we welcome and we will want to do something about it, because that is something that we should be able to sell not only domestically but later on internationally. And for the players in the rural industry, they must make sure that they are up to the standard of tourism friendly, right? If I say international standard, susah. But when you talk about tourism tourism friendly, that's all depends on the local availability. Like for example, I talk about rural tourism in one of the orang asli settlement in Kelantan, in Gua Musang, 70 kilometers from Gua Musang, and the track is all gravel, all tanah liat. When it is rain, we cannot go through. So sometimes we have to look at it in a way where, do we have to spend that much of money to make sure that this particular products been market well and survive? Or do we have to concentrate on this product, that money to other products that is definitely give us good returns? Okay, so that is always the question, which is very sensitive to answer, because sometimes in the Go 70 kilometer, I can't remember the name of the place. It is by orang asli, so we don't want not to support orang asli. So we have to, whether we like it, we have to do it. UKM is doing something good about this. I'm sure UITM and other institution of learning, you can also look into the rural tourism and help disseminate the information. Disseminate information and teach the rural people how to do the rural tourism properly. Because a lot of people from the city, they really need to learn about our ancestor ways of living, candy craft, food very important. You know, like I went to Yan Kedah this time. We have gulai ikan sembilang. We have also deer farm, all in the vicinity of the Gunung Jerai. But people are focusing on promoting Gunung Jerai. They forgot about the Candi in dengan Merbau, the deer farm in Batas Ubi, gulai ikan sembilang in Tanjung Dawai. All these things we need information in order to do that. I am lucky I got the information, but can we get this information across to all the nation? That is very important. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Encik Akil. A message from Dato Dr. Ammar. He has to leave because he has an urgent meeting to attend, and I believe all of you have other things to do after this. But there is one last question that I hope both of you can respond to. It is about sports tourism. What would be your point of view about the roles of sports tourism that can contribute to the economic impact in Malaysia? Yeah, and I think on sports we have also started, they can already be on doing whatever they are doing in their game, because the social distancing is for some sports off right now. So I think we can, but I would like the panels to comment on that. Yeah, is there any recovery task force to formulate a strategy? I think this one actually should be addressed to Mohd. Yeah, we will, some of this question we will compile and email to the relevant officer. But now probably both of you can comment on the role of sports tourism.
Yes, maybe I can chip in here. For sports tourism, of course, there are two types. One is where the visitor or the person comes to participate in the sports themselves. So that has a certain number of people that can be result of that activity or promoting that will be coming. The other part is the spectators of sports tourism who are coming to watch the sport being played. There are two sides. So for the sports tourism that Malaysia has been promoting so far, where the participant is the visitor, the traveler, the tourist, is things like golf and so on. But there are others like motorsports, even motorcycle sports, motor car sports in Sepang, that has actually did bring a lot of visitors to come to watch the races. And what we concluded at that time, that it wasn't, we're not getting the return from this spending on the sports tourism, on the races, on the Formula One and so on. I think it was a pity, because while of course you cannot calculate the cost, the income from the tickets you sell for Formula One races as against the cost of running it, you cannot correlate those two. You have to look at the bigger picture of what is the result, or what are what is total impact of visitors coming to Malaysia, to KL, to Sepang during those few days, during the 1 week or so that they are there, and the spending they do within the country, and of course the advertising, the exposure that Malaysia had on television throughout the whole qualifying rounds and the actual sports race days. So those are the things that we tended not to look at when we were talking about sports tourism, motorsports tourism. And of course, there's other forms of sports tourism that, as you rightly said, it needs both the Ministry of Sports and also Ministry of Tourism to work together to promote this. Thank you.
All right, Tunku. Encik Akil, what have you got to say about sports tourism? What is the relationship between sports tourism and travel agencies?
Well, sport tourism has been a very good income contributor for the travel agency. As what Tunku Iskandar has rightly said, is that Formula One, MotoGP, high profile Malaysian Open, Golf Malaysian Open, Maybank Championship, all giving a lot of invaluable contribution to travel agency in terms of the number of stays, the transportation requirement, the food and beverages, and also the international airlines. They also contribute. They also benefited from this kind of events. Unfortunately, the current situation with the tight SOP that been put forward by our government through Kementerian Kesihatan, basically it's not easy to revive the sport tourism in a better way. But I don't know whether we can do social distancing in the stadium or in the arena during this sport tourism, because sport tourism, when your team win or when your person that you like you win, then the SOP will go down the drain. People will hug, people will cheers, all these things, blah blah. But again, having to say that, it is a very important segment of the tourism industry, and we must try to find a way to work to make things happen. I would suggest Kementerian Kesihatan, Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, Kementerian Pelancongan, Arts and Culture, sit down together and set up a task force and how to revive the sport tourism. Again, not only sport, education is also the same. Kementerian Pendidikan, Kementerian Pelancongan, and other I think other kementerian, you must set all these different task force. Yeah, it's a lot of work. As I told you, we are at war. When we are at war, the rakyat or the business fraternity in Malaysia, we really need the support of the government. We really need the way to move forward showed by the government, because a lot of regulation yang will put us stop. We cannot do that. We cannot do this. We have to comply this. Majlis Perbandaran is totally different way of looking at things. This Kementerian Kesihatan totally different way of looking at things. So these are the issues that post COVID-19, that all these government agency, they have to sit down and talk and look at it. What do we really need? What do we really want in order to survive? Okay, not only the question of to make sure that COVID-19 doesn't surpass, but what is the balance equilibrium in order for COVID-19 to be controlled, and at the same time we can do our economics well. These are the big questions that need to really sit down and engage the right public sector, the right private sector, the right private association, so that that private association can represent the industry and tell the real and honest truth, what we need to do and how to do it. We have to do it fast, or else we'll be left behind and our economy will go straight to more worse than before.
All right, thank you, Encik Akil. I think probably you are talking about the red tapes, which we realized before this, we already have that problem, and when we are at war now, this problem should be resolved as soon as possible. Now, in concluding what we have done today, I think it is a very fruitful discussion. Tunku has been saying that everybody has got to survive. We are not going to leave, if possible, theoretically, we are not leaving anyone behind. And hopefully, hopefully Dr. Ammar will bring up the matter on the revising of the 1992 Tourism Act, which is like more than 30 years ago. Yeah, and for the sports and rural tourism, probably the benchmarking against other countries is the best. Yeah, and on rural tourism, just now Akil mentioned about UKM. Yeah, for the audience information, UITM also, we do have our CSR program in helping the rural community in tourism. But on our side, as you know, as you are aware, we are only at certain level that we can do. Yeah, the next we have to not to pass the bucket, but you can suggest to Tourism Malaysia. Yeah, and sometimes we do get travel agency to be involved. And on just now, Akil was saying about social distancing in sports. I think I've read somewhere about in Europe that they use recorder of supporters. Then there are no supporters, but they use voice of supporters so that the sportsmen they feel like that in the stadium there are audiences there. Yeah. All right. Dato Dr. Ammar has left, and Encik Ali is not able to join us due to technical glitch. Yeah, but I think this is the setback of online. Like Tunku just now was mentioned about when you book ticket online. Yeah, once it is cancelled, it is difficult to deal with them. So if we were to have this webinar as a seminar, I'm sure this can be resolved quite easily. Yeah, but nonetheless, we make do with whatever we have now. Yeah, so to the audience, your questions will be dealt by, we will be emailing the speakers, and I think the speakers can also look at what are the questions. Yeah, probably you can continue after this with on FB Live. Yeah, FB Live, and this one will also be recorded. Yeah, you will be able to watch this later. So with this, I would like, as a moderator, I would like to thank you, all the speakers. Thank you very much for your time. To the audience, thank you for giving us your support, yeah, for your information, for everyone's information. This is being shown on the Google Meet, and the maximum of 250 is always there. So it is difficult for others to come in. We have Google Stream up to 1,000. And also FB Live. And to our students, I'm quite sure there are many students out there. Yeah, so this is the practical side. Like I said, this is from the horse's mouth. What we have learned in the classroom are the theoretical part of it, and I'm sure safety and security will be a very important dimension in our study after this. Yeah, with that, I would pass the session back to our MC, Associate Dr. Professor Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad Hanafia. Over to you, Hafiz.
Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator. Okay, for information, Professor Dr. Muhammad Salihuddin Zahari will not be joining us. He is currently undergoing training with the top management of UITM. He sent his regards to all of you. Thus, I would like to close this session. I would like to extend my warmest welcome to the distinguished and respected panelists for today's webinar. Yang Mulia Tunku Datuk Seri Dr. Iskandar Tunku Abdullah, Dato Dr. Ammar Abdul Ghapar, our adjunct professor, Mr. Muhammad Akil Yusof, and also, unfortunately, to Mr. Muhammad Ali Abdul Malek. Definitely, we will be inviting him for another session of webinar. Thank you all for taking part as panels today, despite your busy schedules. Your opinions and insight into the discussion were actually significant for all of us to understand the impact of these unprecedented events to our industry. I frankly believe that this issue with survival of the small enterprises in this industry have been discussed thoroughly, and it shows that we need to help and work together to rejuvenate our tourism industry as soon as possible. In addition, my gratitude goes to the organizing committee. Thank you, Datin Arni and the team. This webinar is an initiative by the Tourism Department of this faculty. The amazing lineups of lecturers with the help from the offices of research and industry linkages have successfully organized today's program. Special thanks to the moderator for today, the lovely Associate Professor Dr. Norliza Aminudin. My appreciation goes to all the participants. Either you are local or international, your dynamic participation has made this program successful. We were very lucky today as among the participants, we have our strategic partners from neighboring countries, not to forget the students participating today. I hope that you gain some valuable information on the current situations that the industry is facing. With that, thank you and wassalam. So, as promised, please fill up the webinar feedback form. You may just scan the QR code using your camera. You may give your feedback using the QR code as per displayed on the screen registered right now. For your information, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our Facebook page. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you Tunku, thank you Dato Ammar, thank you Mr. Akil, and also thank you Dr. Norliza. Thanks all. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.